So today I'm with Gary Allen, aka the Cockney Bard. Now Gary, you have some amazing unexplained stories to tell and some incredible abilities as well. So would you like to begin at the beginning and tell us all about it?
Yeah, well, it all started when I was about 33. I lived in a house in Essex and was feeling a bit down. Went to bed, got up the next day, and something amazing happened to me. I had this overwhelming desire to write. So I got a pen and a paper out the drawer, and I just started to write. And after a couple of minutes, I had about 250 words on the paper. There was no pause, no punctuation, no grammar. And I thought it was really unusual. I couldn't understand it. And when I started to read it, it appeared that somebody was actually talking to me and telling me things about my life. So I phoned a friend up, my friend Dean, and he thought it would. He said, "What a load of old rubbish, you're losing the plot." So I said, "Well, why don't you come and have a look?" So anyway, he came over and he knocked on the door and walked through the door. And for some really unknown reason, I didn't know why I did it, but I went over to him and I put my hand on his shoulder. And the next minute, he started moving it in a circular direction. And I said, "What are you doing that for?" And he said, "I can't believe it." And I said, "What's happened?" And he said, I busted my arm in karate, and he said I haven't been able to move it above sort of shoulder right. And anyway, so I thought, what the hell was going on? I couldn't explain it. Anyway, he said to me, "Show me that writing that you did." So I showed him, and he read a bit, and he said, "That ain't you." He said, "I can't understand it." He said, "You reckon you could do it again?" So I said, "I don't know." So I got another piece of paper out and started writing again, and it was like flew out like a river, loads of words come on the paper. And Dean said to me, "I can't believe it." He said, "What does it say?" So anyway, I started reading it to him, and then I got to the bit where it said, "They're telling me that your wife had a doctor's appointment yesterday." And he spat his coffee all over the floor. And I said to him, I said to him, "What's the matter?" And he said, "Well, yesterday my wife did have a doctor's appointment." So, that was a bit of a shocker. And then he said to me, "Are you having an affair with my wife?" And I said, "No, but thanks for the tip." Anyway, so anyway, he tops up, he phones his wife up and he starts talking to her. And he said, "When was the last time you saw Gary?" And she said, 5 years ago. And, he was astounded. I never see him for 10 years after that. It frightened him so much. But for me, it was like a curiosity that I just had to try every day. And every day when I started, I got a pen and a paper, and every day I started to write, and every day without fail I would get a number of words that just flowed out onto the piece of paper.
So with your writings, basically you were getting poetry, philosophy.
Well, not at the beginning, no. At the beginning it was just conversational text. But after a while I was told that I would start to write philosophy and poetry, and that indeed it did happen, yeah.
And also you were able to predict certain happenings via your writing as well, weren't you?
Oh, absolutely. I've predicted many things that have come true. There is one story which is not so long back, it's about 7 years now I think, and that to do with the Grenfell Tower. I wasn't writing. I don't need to write to pick up things about the future and that.
So did that kind of progress from the writing, the ability then to do it without having to write? You just picked things up.
Yeah. You basically, it's like a fault voice in the head. So basically, it's like your own imagination. But I was able to sort of. We come with great clarity. I was able to hear it, and sure enough, these things would come true. So one day I was in a flat in East London, and I was with two people. One was John, and the other one was a friend I'd been everywhere with, as she was a friend, loved the Knights Templars and history and that kind of stuff. Sheila, and I think she was about 64, but she was a really good person, good human being. And for some unknown reason, I turned to John and I said to John, "You've lived many lives before, John. I said, you've had many violent deaths, but not in this one. And then I turned to Sheila and I said, but I can't say the same for you. Well, Sheila just said, oh, I'm off to bed, and she went to bed. And I said to John, I can't help it, John. I said, but I keep getting fire with Sheila. And he said, bloody hell. Anyway, tops up 17 years later, she burned to death in Grenfell Tower. So, yeah, absolutely horrific, yeah.
It's quite frightening, really, some of the things that, that you pick up.
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, that's the worst thing I've ever picked up. I don't want too many of them, to be honest.
No.
But I also had a dream about a horse race, and I mean, I used to love the old horses and all that, and it cost me a fortune. But anyway. But I did have an horse dream one night, and basically in this dream, I saw an horse race, and there was 8 runners. The horse came from last to first. I saw the number of the horse was number 4. The horse was called Tedborough, and it was 11-1. And I looked down and I had a winning ticket. And basically, so I got up the next morning. I got the Sun newspaper, and the first race at Newcastle was the 2:10, number 4 Tedborough. It was the outsider at 11-1. So I told everyone about my little premonition, and no one backed it, of course, apart from me. And it was exactly the same as the dream. So that was the very next day. So unlike with Sheila's story, which was 17 years later, with the horse race dream, it was the very next day. And I kept the press cutting so that I could show people. Yeah, amazing.
So also, obviously, amongst your abilities of being able to channel, if that's the right word, information, poetry, philosophy, etc., and prediction, you also found you could heal as well.
Yes, I've helped horses and people over the years. It's just an amazing thing. But I believe that everyone can do healing, and everyone's got the sixth sense. I'm absolutely convinced by that. It's just that they don't understand it.
So would it be right to say that basically you woke up one day and you had these abilities all of a sudden?
Well, it's been a 30-year journey where I've learnt an awful lot, and basically I think people have to be very careful if they do have the gift, because you can't just say things to people because can't tell them something's wrong or anything like that. So it's about learning.
Well, there's that certain responsibility.
Oh, absolutely it is. But you can tell the future, you can tell the past, people's past. The poetry, I have endless amounts of poetry, and many different intellects. There's poems of war, there's poems of love, there's poems of death, and people tell me they're great poems. So well, having read them myself, they're in different styles as well. So normally, I mean, if someone said, accused you of just being a good writer, let's say, or a good poet, normally there are certain styles, and from what I've observed of your writings, they are in different styles. Yeah, I think there's about 12 different intellects in the writings, and there's certainly not Gary, that's for sure. No, they're definitely not Gary, and I think it's up to people to make their own mind up after they've read the poems and that.
That's right. Some of them, no disrespect at all. You're a Cockney, you're an East Ender, but you don't write like that. And some of the writing styles are very Shakespearean, for example.
Well, there's all sorts of styles. I mean, I think when I first started hearing the words, I mean, I didn't even have a clue who Shakespeare was, and I was 33 years of age, And
so it's all really quite amazing and incredible. And so basically, you've written a book called In Search of the Swan, haven't you? Which is all about your amazing spiritual journey, and the fact that actually this could happen to anybody.
It could, indeed, yes. And I've also written a book called Dead Poet's Pen, which has got all the poetry in it, and a book of philosophy. So, that's great,
So if anybody wants to find you, you're on www.thecockneybard.com, is that right?
That is indeed. Thank you very much,
Thank you for joining me.
Lovely, thank you, bye.